What's up YouTube, Duel here from Zephyr War Games. Today I'm bringing you another live duel commentary from local. So this is round 2. Both players are currently 1-0. We have on the top Jordan playing Tearlaments. This is of course with Darkwind Blast legal. And on the bottom we have Rob playing Kashtria. Now obviously they are the brand new level 7 archetype that revolve around banishing. He is playing the adventure engine in his deck, which gives him the added bonus of being able to set up Omni Negates. And it, in theory, gives you 3 monsters, because when you think about it, both Illegal Knight and Griffin Rider are able to summon themselves if you control no monsters or if you control a token. Obviously, it's probably going to be more, it would be better if you can do it when you control a token, because then you can still special summon the Kashtira. So he's going to activate Kashtira Birth. I'll put all of the new cards up on the screen for you so you can read them and see how they operate. But this one allows you to normal summon a level 7 monster without tribute. It also lets you special summon back a banished or Kashtira that is in the graveyard. And then if your opponent activates a spell card, you can target exactly 3 cards in their graveyard and banish them. He's going to special summon down Unicorn, which can be special summoned if he controls no monsters. And his effect allows you to search out a Kashtira spell. And at the moment we only have Birth. Off the back of that as well, he also has the effect that when he declares an attack or when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can look at your opponent's graveyard and banish 1 card from it face down, which is really important when there are extra decks running around with one-offs. But it seems the majority of decks right now, or the competitive levels, are playing multiples of the main core cards. So all you're really doing would be taking away 1 or 2 boss monsters. He then activates Instant Contact. So Instant Contact is the technically an instant fusion for elemental hero monsters. And the reason it gets played in the Kashtira deck is because it lets you summon out a level 7 monster for 1,000 life points. He's going off with the flex because he's got the Air Neos. He did it very smartly. He was collecting the cover card set way back when, so this was before lockdown, so before a collector's market kind of rocketed through the roof, and was able to pick it up for a lot cheaper than it was. Obviously he didn't go for ulti, but that's kind of understandable. I think like first ed ultis are like £300-400. It's absolutely mental. So he hasn't used the Birth Revival effect, and he hasn't used the Birth Normal Summon effect yet. So he still technically has 2 summons. It just depends on where he wants to go from here. So it looks like the normal summon is going to be Illegal Knight, which is a good summon to have because it is just another level 7. He's going to overlay those, keeping the Unicorn completely free to go into the Kashtira Shangri-La. So this one is when a card is banished, or if a card is banished face down, you can lock either a spell trap zone or a monster zone, and while it is face up on the field, your opponent cannot use that zone. It's really important because even if it gets Dark Ruler, that still is in effect. It has to either be Book of Moon or removed from the field. He's also going to activate Defissure, so whether or not he knows he's up against Tearlaments, that is a complete shutdown for the deck. And he passes to his opponent's turn. The Shangri-La will also trigger, so during the standby phase, it will also give Rob the ability to special summon any Kashtira monster from the deck, meaning that he can set up another banish. And keeping in mind that it's only once per turn to special summon from the standby phase through the Shangri-La, but it is not once per turn to lock out a zone. So if on different chains you are banishing cards face down, so for example, in one chain you banish with Unicorn, and in another chain you banish with Fenrir, the Shangri-La will lock out 2 zones, which is really important, which is why Mind Hacker is so crazy good for this deck. Keep in mind that he defissures any monster sent to the graveyard is banished, which again the Kashtas really don't care about. So yeah, that's kind of important on that one. So he's going to continue to make his plays. He summons out Fenrir from the deck. So Fenrir again, during the main phase, you can search out any Kashtira monster. So again, he'll be able to search out Unicorn or another copy of himself. And then if your opponent activates a monster effect, or when you declare an attack with it, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and banish it face down. I can't quite see exactly what Jordan has played there, but when I do, I'll be able to put it up on the screen for you guys as well. Keeping in mind as well, I believe it's Droplets, which is surprising. Oh no, completely wrong on that one. Terraforming, it's Terraforming. There you go. There's your answer. So Terraforming to search out Pelourinho. Pelourinho is obviously going to give him the ability to search out any monster. I think this is always going to be an uphill battle, because if he can't get rid of that Defissure, all his monsters are going to get banished. It means his Havnis can't really mill anything. There's nothing in the graveyard already to spin back, so it's going to be very difficult for him to try and do that. The only way I feel that he could do anything is he would need to have the ability to fuse with Rhino Heart and 2 monsters to get into Collider Heart to spin that D-Fissure back. Other than that, he's in trouble. So he's going to search out what I believe is a Rhino Heart. Oh no, Havness, which is interesting. I suppose you just use it as a free summon, maybe? He's got Super Poly in the hands from the looks of it, and he's got a trap card, which I'm assuming is Imperm. If it is, I'm surprised he didn't stop the Shangri-La hitting the board, but maybe he was thinking that he could set the Imperm in the column of D-Fissure, flip it, and then turn off the D-Fissure for a turn. So they're just kind of checking out the Shangri-La and how it operates, and obviously because the lock zone is very, very important. Technically, if you're, for example, if your opponent activated Desires, you would banish the zone. You could then Unicorn, banish another zone. Fenrir, banish another zone. If you had Ogre on the board, you would banish another zone. Like, it just goes going and going and going. So it looks like he's activated droplets there. Obviously, he can't send monsters, so he has to send 2 spells or traps or anything. So he is sending what looks like Super Poly and Cross Out. Don't know where I'm getting Cross Out from, but I think they're just thinking on this one. They're like, obviously Roll can respond with a monster effect, but there's no monsters to really respond with. So he can't. Well, he could activate the Birth, but he would do that on a new chain. So it depends what Jordan droplets, what he negates. So he sends to drop the Super Poly and one other card. I'm not too sure what it is, and it looks like he negated the Fenrir and the Unicorn, which makes sense because you don't want your opponent stepping through your extra deck. Normal summons the Rhino Heart. He could activate the effect if he wanted to, but it would automatically banish whatever he sends, so there's going to be no benefit from there. At the moment, it is a 2k beta, and with Fenrir and Unicorn halved, he will be able to get some damage in and destroy it, but that's pretty much it. Keeping in mind as well that when they get banished, so even if they get killed, they get banished, because Birth is still live, they're just going to come back. So it's all going to reset, and Rob will eventually be able to build a bigger board presence, because during the standby phase, the Kashtria monster will then, or the Shangri-La will then trigger to summon another one. So before you know it, you've got 3 boss monsters on the board, and your Fenrir lets you search out one you can normal summon for free. So straight away, he'll have OTK on play. 1 card set. I would like to think that's a Super Poly, but I think it's an Imperm, because if you had kept the at least with a Super Poly, I'm trying to think if he could go into anything. I'm pretty sure he could go into Garuda. Can't go into Mud Dragon is same attribute, different types, which they're all psychics, so you couldn't do that. Oh, it looks like a Solic. The other one would be Garura, but they need to be same types and same attributes, I believe, just different names. And obviously the Kashtrias are Earth Psychic, Water Psychic, Wind Psychic, Fire Psychic. So you ain't getting away with that one. Yeah, so it looks like there's a Solic along the back row. He's going to normal summon the Fenrir using the effect of the... that's very odd. It's very, very odd. Using the effect of the Birth, searching out the Ogre. Because if he had done this the other way around, he could have revived the Fenrir, used that Fenrir to search the Ogre, and then normal summon the Ogre. Obviously, the Ogre is a little bit stronger. He's 28. But then you would have had all 3 on the board. Whereas if he's going to activate the Birth now to bring one back, he's going to have 2 the same. On that phase as well, he can declare an attack with Fenrir, use the effect to banish either the field spell or the monster, and then carry on the attack for 24. So he's going to use Birth to bring back the second Fenrir. Okay, I see where he's going for this. So you're going to go into the Mind Hacker. Mind Hacker triggers the effect. So you detach a material, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck, you banish one face down. On a new chain, that will then trigger the Shangri-La. And that will then also trigger Mind Hacker's second effect. So you would then banish one from the top of Jordan's deck face down, you would lock one zone. And then on the new chain after that, the Shangri-La will trigger again because you banish one from your opponent's top of the deck to then banish or lock a second zone. So ultimately in this play, he's going to end up locking 3 zones and banishing 1 from the extra deck and 1 or 2 from the top of the deck. So again, it's nice removal. Obviously, Mind Hacker, if it destroys a monster as well, will get the ability to banish another one from the graveyard face down. So I believe technically, technically he could lock out 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he can lock out 4 zones if he did this right. So he's just doing Chainlink 1 Mind Hacker, Chainlink 2 Shangri-La. So lock out a zone. He's going to signify that with a die. Mind Hacker will make his opponent banish 1 from the top of the deck because he's got 1 banished face down. And then I believe, because Fenrir is a face-up card, you could attack with Mind Hacker, destroy the Reinhardt, trigger the second effect that when he destroys one by battle, I believe it's at the end of the battle phase, I could be wrong, to banish 1 face down, which would then trigger Shangri-La to lock another zone, and then you would declare an attack with Fenrir. Fenrir will banish the field spell, and then trigger Shangri-La again, locking a 4th zone, which means your opponent's playing with 1 zone, which is absolutely disgusting. It looks like he's doing it the other way around, though. It looks like he's going to attack with Fenrir and use the effect of Fenrir to banish it. Oh, he didn't use the effect of Fenrir. Oh. Must be a misplay on his behalf. Because you could have done that on Declaration and banish it face down. The only reason you would attack with Fenrir is to clear a monster off the board and then still get 2400 damage in. But anyway, does the double damage, passes turn. Yeah, I think he's definitely missed 2 zone locks there on that one. Standby phase, Shangri-La's effect's going to summon. I mean, he's got a face down trap. You could summon out the Ogre and be like, you know what, I reckon you could probably chain that trap card at some point. But I think it's more likely he's going to be Unicorn. So summon out the Unicorn. Unicorn's going to be able to control it. I feel like it kind of sucks for Jordan because ultimately the second that D-Fissure was live, it completely, it's near impossible that Tears can fully play from it. It makes it very difficult. On top of that as well, the deck's played around Super Poly really well because Mind Hacker is Psychic Dark. So there's a Psychic Earth in Fenrir, a Psychic Dark in Mind Hacker, a Psychic Wind in Unicorn, and a Psychic Fire in Shangri-La. He's activated Instant Fusion. Wow, what a rip off the top deck. Instant Fusion is going to allow him to summon out Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos' effect will then either add or send. We know that he's got a Havness in the hand because he searched that out the last turn. He's triggering the effect of Birth to banish 3 from the graveyard. That will then trigger the effect of Mind Hacker 1 and Shangri-La 2. So you lock out in the zone. But obviously you've got to finish the chains before that. So Instant Fusion would go off, which is correct. Then it would go Chainlink 1, Kit Kalos as turn player priority to either add or send. Then Chainlink 2 of Mind Hacker, Chainlink 3 of Shangri-La. He then still also, if he wants to, has the ability of Unicorn and Fenrir, which is stupid because their ones are if your opponent activates a monster effect. So they can all trigger on the next chain. So obviously he will need to do that afterwards, but this would still cause a decent board lock as well. So you resolve Kit Kalos on this chain. You then resolve Mind Hacker, making Jordan banish, I believe, an additional 2 from the top of the deck if I've kept count correctly. So I mean, you could have saved Mind Hacker's effect to banish more later on, but so trying to see where he's going with this. I think that they're just trying to figure out when the chains happen, because it's obviously, because what will happen in theory is you would go obviously Chainlink 1 Kit Kalos, Chainlink 2 Mind Hacker, Chainlink 3 Shangri-La, lock a zone, banish 2 from the top of the deck, and do from there. So as Chainlink 4, Jordan is activating Havness, and Chainlink 5, he's activated another card, which again, apologies the glare, I can't see that. I can't control that with the setup. We might have to change that for the future. So we're just explaining how this is all working, because there's 2 chains that will become active after this. The complications of Shangri-La. Keep in mind and remember this, that the Kashtria are if effects. So when effects have to chain directly to their trigger motion, so when an attack is declared, trigger Kashtira effect. If effects happen on a new chain once something has already resolved. So, as we get in the check on this one, Kit 1, Mind Hacker 2, Shangri-La 3, Havness 4, and then... Oh, I don't remember what that spell is. The spell's the new one. Not Scream. Is it Screams? I'll put this up on the screen so you guys can see it as well. But it's basically one to pop back row. So he's popping the D-Fissure. So the way this would work is you'd... 5 would pop the back row. And then because it would force you to send Havness, it will send Havness to the graveyard after already popping the back row. So D-Fissure is no longer live. Havness will then fizzle because it was the only card in Jordan's hand, so he can't then resolve the Havness to summon itself. 3 would then go off, which is... I think he's done this a little bit wrong. It should technically be 3, would be Shangri-La to Locker Zone, and 4 for Mind Hacker. But it looks like he might have missed that in the chain. What is... No, there we go. I think we're fixing that. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm over at the side now trying to fix this, because like it is messy. So now I'm saying that you need to lock a zone, then you get your opponent to banish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they'll banish 5 from the top of their deck. So resolve that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's Mind Hacker. So that can put, and then Chainlink 1, we go back to Kit to resolve. I think Jordan already did that earlier. No, he still needs to resolve the Kit. What are you doing? This is a interesting one, because then on the new chain, after the Kit's resolved, on a new chain you would go Chainlink 1 Fenrir, Chainlink 2 Unicorn, and obviously that's what he's done. So he's done Unicorn to banish Kit. He's done Fenrir to banish Kit, Unicorn to banish from the extra deck, and then Shangri-La to lock another zone. So if he had done it in the correct chaining sequence, he would have locked the 4th zone, and then after this locked the 5th zone, so there would be no monster zones to be played with. Anyway, Jordan kind of scoops it out from there. Like I said, he had to work so hard to out the D-Fissure. It's taken like 18 minutes to out a D-Fissure to be able to even attempt to start to play. So, yeah, it looks like they're both agreeing to swiftly go into Game 2. I think it's in Jordan's best interest to do that, because you kind of want to get set up and not have to worry about a D-Fissure or a Macrocosmo or anything like that. So he starts off with Brandon in High Spirits. So this is the quick play, I believe it's the quick play spell that lets you reveal a fusion monster in your extra deck, send it from the extra deck to the graveyard, and then you discard... as part of effect, not as cost, you discard a monster from the hand. So he would discard the Merrill, which is what he's done here, and then you search out a card that lists, or a monster that lists Fawn of Albaz in its text. So obviously, because it was discarded as effect, the best thing about this is the Merrill will just spin back the Kit. It's not Kit Kalos, it's the new one, which again I'll put that up on the screen as well so you guys can read along. It'll put that back into the extra deck, and then the Merrill will then fusion summon. So it's really cool, because it's like a 1 card or a 2 card fusion. As long as you've got a tier card and that, it just goes ham, which is absolutely mental. So I like it as a tech in this deck. So I think I don't know if they were waiting on the new one to specifically trigger it, and then people are playing the Albion, the Branded Dragon, because then you can send a card from the graveyard to the deck, deck to the graveyard, and then or hand to the graveyard to summon it. So because obviously Brandon High Spirits discards as effect, not as cost, it will of course allow you to trigger the Merrill Engrave and go from there. Really, take a lot of time reading. I'm not a smart man, but I don't know what this card does. Yeah, it comes with like, when you see cards like this, even though they've been out for a while, it's rare that unless you faced up against them, that you're going to know exactly what they do. So Jordan's not replenished his hand, but he's still got 4 cards in hand, and from 1 card he will be able to perform or complete the fusion summon. It's a shame that the Albaz Dragon doesn't count as Albaz in the deck. In the hand. Otherwise, technically, it would be pretty cool, because I'm pretty sure you could Merrill, spin back the Albaz in the hand to the deck, and make Lubellion, and then Lubellion could discard a card to make another level 8 fusion, which could be really cool. Especially if you've opened up like Hand of Tears, because then you could discard a tier and then spin the fusion tier and that back to make Draxtapelia, which would be really fun. Just seeing what we're waiting on. It's really cool. I enjoy the Kashtria deck. It's definitely, obviously everyone's jumping on the hype of the first wave. Fenrir is the troublesome card. Fenrir is the, £40-50 ultra rare card right now, because it's generic. That's the issue. Like, if you control no monsters, you special summon it, you declare an attack, your opponent activates a monster effect, you get to target a card in the field and banish it face down. Like, it is what it is. It's nuts. So it looks like the Albion has the ability to also send the branded in high spirits as well, so that's kind of a weighted deck thing, I suppose, after you've already done it. So he's going to put... That's right, he's putting the fusion back, he's going to put the mirror back, and we're going to perform the fusion summon. Jeez, guys, come on, that took you like 5 minutes to figure out 1 card. Anyway, they're going to continue on playing that into a Kit Kalos, because they're Aqua. That's really cool. I like that. Kit Kalos to search or send. Looks like searching. I'm going to have to definitely get this glare, like top hard glare. Rhino Heart. Okay, fine. So I suppose at that point you would expect that an Impel or something would hit the kit. It's going to activate the Perlerino. Perlerino, you're going to go for Shiren or Havnis, in my opinion. That looked like a Havnis to me. So it's going to activate the Albion Dragon. The Albion Dragon is basically just a free draw, because you send a second copy of Brandon High Spirits, you put the dragon back to the bottom of the deck, and then you draw a card. So you've pretty much been able to gain resource from everything you need, loot stuff around, all from 1 Albion Dragon. So we know he's got Havnis, we know he's got a Rhino Heart. There comes the normal summon with the Rhino Heart, and then there's 2 more cards in hand that both look like spells to me. So I think one is a Scream, or the spell card that lets you pop a back row, and the other one is Unknown. Rob is still sitting there waiting to play, but yeah, it seems a pair of them are new to each, well, not new to each other, but new to certain cards in each other's decks, so there will be a bit of time. So Kit's going to use his effect to bring back Shiren that was sent with Rhino Heart. Mill 5. That looks like a Havnis. Is that a Havnis and a Rhino Heart? Or a Havnis and a Shiren? So he'll be able to trigger those. Get additional fusion summons going. Yeah, so there's a Shiren, so we're going to go into the new Kit Kalos Fusion. Oh, Dark Ruler no more, lol. So we've gone into the new Kit Kalos Fusion. I'll put that up on the screen as well. It basically negates a summon, which is really, really strong, because it will like negate a summon and then send or spin. It's, yeah, really good. And then Jordan still has 4 cards in hand, one of them still being a Havnis. So what is that he's activating? Oh, he's got the Bystials as well. He's got a Magnamart. Wow. So he's milled a Magnamart earlier. He's going to trigger the effect in hand that's going to allow him to banish the Magnamart from the graveyard to summon itself down, which is a level 6 monster. But what it will do is it will allow him to search out the Druid Worm during the end phase, and the Druid Worm is then a form of disruption by banishing from the graveyard, and then when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, it will let you send one of your opponent's monsters to the graveyard. So it's really cool because it's like a DD Crow that sends. So yeah, that's kind of a cool little thing to go with. I'm assuming he's passed to Rob now. Are we rocking 6 cards at the moment? Oh no, he's still playing. He's still going. He's going into IP Masquerena rather than Time Thief Reader. That's interesting. Set 1, which is probably going to be Solix. Set another one, which is probably going to be the Back Row Hater, the Back Row Pop. It's crazy that the new cards of tier deck, guys, are mental. Like one's like reduced attack and mill free and all that stuff, and one's like Back Row Hate. So end phase is going to search out a Druid Worm. As already explained, that one is again, it's like a DD Crow, summons itself down, and then it will send a monster from the field to the graveyard if it is sent from the graveyard, or is it? So again, very nice spot removal, non-destruction, which is a bit ouchy. Rob's here praying for an evenly matched. Otherwise, it's game over. I'll have to check Druid Worm. Again, I'll put this up on the screen as whether or not it needs to be sent via your opponent's card effects. If not, then IP Masquerena is broken, because then you just send it to the graveyard, make an Appaloosa, and then send one opponent's monster to the graveyard. It's like, yo, double whammy. That's not fair. Kind of thing. Okay, so, Dark Ruler, so that shuts off the board already. Boof, goodbye. Activates Water Enchantress. That's not been met with anything. So, out comes the Rite of Armoricia. I suppose this is where you kind of want like a Sulik, and then you would have gone Time Thief Reader instead of IP. So I'm assuming he would have tried to go IP, and Druid Worm would have been his ideal plan. I think that's what the route he was going for. So, he opened up Adventure. That's sad. That's so sad. No one wants to open up Adventure. Just lose advantage. Oh, the good old days when people were playing 2. Activate Right. Right is going to spawn a token. So confused what's going on right now. Oh yeah, there we go. I thought he was trying to chain the kit to negate it, and it's like, bro, you're on the Dark Ruler. You ain't doing nothing. You do nothing. Okay, so we summon out a token. Activate Adventure to get the Draco back. And then I assume you would discard Draco back, get you either Illegal Knight or get you Griffin Rider. I'll probably go Griffin Rider, just guarantees you've got a negate on the board. You've got to be very careful, because you know, or you should know, as soon as he puts a light or a dark in that graveyard, that Druid Worm will come down as a DD Crow. Either way, he can still summon down Druid Worm by getting rid of like any of the lights and darks in his own graveyard, which I think is what he's looking at now. He's got the Albion Dragon, and he's got the what? How'd the Albion Dragon get back into grave? Did he mill it? Waft. And then Kit. So, not Kit. Sorry. Chiron. So he's got Chiron in the graveyard. He's got the ability to banish and summon down the Druid Worm. I'm believing we're searching out. Oh, don't tell me you opened up the Draco back as well. Lol. Or if did he add the Draco back? I'm confused of what's happened here. Did he just add the Draco back? Oh, has he already opened up Griffin? Change this. So this is the back row. Hey, again, I'll put this up on the screen so you can see it. But that's a spell card that will let him destroy the back row. The question is, what do you go for? Like, I would have waited, because if he had discarded that and then re-equipped it, then you kill it and then it's not coming back. Whereas if he kills that now, it's just going to re-equip. Oh, it doesn't destroy it. It spins it back to the deck. Oh, okay. That's even better. Should have saw that in game run. I obviously blinked and didn't see the defuse go back to deck. The best thing about that is it lets him discard a card from the hand as effect, so he can then trigger, which is exactly what he's doing. So he's got Havness. Havness will spin into... will spin with the Rhino Heart in the graveyard to get into Kaleido Heart. And then off the back of that, he can Kaleido Heart spin, and he could technically Pearlorino pop. So he clears both cards on the board. Which is a bit risky, considering that Rob hasn't conducted a normal or hasn't even conducted a special of a Kashtria monster yet. But it does go. Both go. I wonder what else Rob's got in hand. I mean, the fact that he opened up the adventure cuts him down to 4. Oh, it must have just been all hand traps. I think he's scooping it up. Yeah, smart idea. Yeah, it must have been all... I don't know. It must have been all bricks or something. All instant contacts. Anyway, both players have sided. We are now moving into that all-important game 3. So Rob, I assume, is going to go first. I mean, if he gets a fissure lock again already and Jordan can't out that, then he's in big trouble. But we'll soon see. Obviously, both players are going to need to move as fast as they can. 6 minutes left on the clock. Going into game 3, the chances are that your opponent, being Jordan, will possibly be putting in some form of Wincorn for time, whether it be Cowboy in the extra deck or whether it be the Skull Beetle. And then Rob's got 5 minutes to build a board without using instant contact. So he's going to activate Birth. Birth is going to allow him to have a normal summon of a level 7. So he's going to normal summon the Ogre. He's going to use the Ogre's effect to search out a trap. Oh, that is sad. You never really want Ogre to be your summon. Sorry, you're not going to use Birth to special summon it out. You just special summon Ogre off his own effect. Ignore all that. He then gets to add the trap card. So the trap card reads as follows: is you get to summon a Kashtria monster from your graveyard or the hand, and then if your opponent activates a trap card effect, you get to look at the top, look at their hand and banish one from it face down. So he's obviously going to be able to also activate Rite of Armoricia. This is the better way of doing it, because obviously if you activate the token first, you no longer control no monsters, which means you can't special the Kashtras down. Very, very damaging. I do like, at the moment, because we're still in the experimental phase of the Kashtras, that there's routes with dangers, there's routes with the adventure package, there's routes with Psy Beasts. Like, personally, I've tried it with Psy Beasts. I really, really like it, but it is the biggest kind of like imperm bait, Veiler bait around, and then you're stuck with it on the board. So I'm going to look into like a danger adventure version, possibly. Because then you just get rid of the cards you're going to use as normal summon, which the only one you use is the Psy Beast. And as long as you're not normal summoning off of the back of the Kashtria spell of Birth, a Unicorn or more so a Fenrir, then you don't need to worry about the effect to search out a monster that you won't be allowed to activate under the adventure side of it. So I'll give the adventure side a go. Maybe try and slip in some dangers there. I just like the idea, like, always benefit if you discard a Water Enchantress off of a danger and then you just get to go ham. It's great. So he's going to normal summon the Unicorn, obviously no effect because he's under the Water Enchantress and the basic engine. But he's going to trigger that to get the Draco back. The Draco back will then give him the ability to get into the Griffin Rider with about 3 and a bit minutes left on the clock. Obviously trying to push in for the game, but I think this is the difficulty with Kashtras, in a sense, being a control deck. Sometimes it's worth risking it to make your opponent go first, but then if they do side in burn damage, then it's pretty much game over. It looks like his opponent does have Dark Ruler No More in the hand, so no matter what Rob puts on the board, even in the standby phase, getting the Shangri-La play, it is going to end there, sadly. He's already used... So he still has the special off of the Birth. So in theory, if he wanted to sacrifice the Griffin Rider, he could get a couple of zone locks. I suppose this is where it's good, though, because if, in my opinion, I would make Mind Hacker, look at my opponent's extra deck and take away a Cowboy. Because then if I detach a Kashtria monster, I can then revive it back with the Birth. And then by reviving it back with the Birth... I can then make a second rank 7, which can then be the Shangri-La. So I would have then been able to banish one from the extra deck, banish one from the top of his deck, and lock one zone, at the very least. Like, it's bare minimum. But, yeah, that would have been kind of cool to lock some stuff down. So we're going to see standby phase. We're going to bring out the Fenrir. It looks like Jordan's got Branded Opening. He's also got a trap card in there. He's got Dark Ruler No More, but I mean, he's got 2 minutes left on the clock, so if he activates that Dark Ruler No More, then he has to gain life points in some form or another. and then he activates the Kashtria trap. I mean, that would have been really, really damaging if that was like an anti-spell. Like, woof. Big ouch. So I think they're just explaining what the trap card does. Obviously, both players are now going to, or whether they realise or not, they're going to be running out of time very, very quickly. Not too much left to go. So, I mean, Jordan's got plays to make. He's activating the spell card, which is going to let him ditch. I think he looks like he's got Silic in hand, so he'll ditch that to get a search, which is really important. He gets rid of the trap, which is a bit bizarre. I mean, I suppose the trap's not bad because it will let you, if you do get Dark Rulers, you then are able to special summon a Kashtira monster back, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so like literally 50 seconds left on the clock. I suppose it would come back to bite Rob in the backside if there was a cowboy in that extra deck, but I don't believe Jordan has it in. And I don't believe he plays the Skull Beetle either. So he's going to search out. It looks like he's searching out the Merrill, which is understandable when you look at the rest of his hand. Like, he's got Dark Ruler, and then he's got like a bunch of spells and traps. The other issue is as well, he's activating the Dark Ruler no more. I suppose that makes sense again, because if he normal summons that, then Rob will be able to start banishing stuff from his hand and his graveyard, his hand and extra deck and field. Ugh, get there eventually. So he's activated Brandon in High Spirits. He's going to do the exact same combo here. Send the Merrill, search out the Albion Dragon, and time's pretty much like up. So I think they're in main phase now. So they're going to be able to try and play it around, see what they can do. But ultimately, I believe it's going to end in a draw. I think there's too much for Jordan to try and do to get anywhere going, and not much more to do. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I think that the players are just being told that time is up, so it will ultimately end in a draw. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.